am meteorologist Christina Upwards, and I am talking up a storm with Natalie Dale of the Georgia Department of Transportation. And you see all the tanks behind us, but Natalie, where are we and what are we doing here?
Well, we are so glad to host you today at the Maintenance Activities Unit, which is where a lot of different things go on at GDOT, not just winter weather preparation, not just winter weather activities. These are where all the big signs get made, but we do a lot here during winter weather. So we have salt barns that run to feed our brine tanks. This would, I guess you would call the main hub of where our brine comes from in Metro Atlanta. We have over 220,000 gallons of brine here in this brine house that we are constantly filling tankers with when needed, constantly making brine. So today we don't need them, luckily, but they are full and they are ready to go for any winter weather storm that we might have.
So how many tanks do we have in here?
So we have about 11 tanks and they fill about 11,000 gallons of brine per tank. And again, as those are filled, we feed into the brine tankers. And so when those brine tankers are filled, our other crews are outside making the brine to refill these tanks. We never want to be stuck in a place where we don't have enough brine to get back out on the road. So it's a very nimble process. And you know, we've talked a lot about Snowmageddon and what was then. We had a couple of thousand gallons, maybe a couple 100 gallons of brine that was made, you know, in a kitchen, more or less.
No.
Statewide, we have 1.7 million gallons of brine. So while we're here looking at these facilities today that have brine in them, throughout the state, we have other places like this that also have brine. So tankers don't have to come up here from South Georgia or North Georgia to refill. Everyone around the state, each GDOT district has their own capabilities of filling brine. And I think we've seen how effective brine can be on the road conditions that we get in Georgia.
When do you start brining the roads? Let's say I'm forecasting a snowstorm on Friday. When do you start doing the brine process?
Well, that's going to depend largely on how big of a footprint the storm's going to be. Now, we had a storm this year that was the entire
the entire
footprint,
yeah.
And we brined statewide. We brined in essence what would have been a 2-lane interstate from New York City to LA. So we have a lot of lane miles. But when you're in Georgia, we take for granted how big our state is and how many roads, especially that GDOT does. We are one of the larger states with one of the largest infrastructure systems, interstate, state routes.
And even Metro Atlanta is really big. From, say, the top northern part of the metro down to the south, I've calculated it's about 90 to 100 miles from the top to the bottom. When you are brining, what is the process? What do you prioritize first and then get to next?
So we prioritize our priority routes. So it's easy to think about it that way. So we have priority routes and then we have secondary routes. Priority routes are going to be your major interstates: 285, 75, 85, 400, I-20 out both directions, 75 and 85 up and down both directions. If the storm is going to just be confined to Metro North Georgia, we do try to get every lane with brine, and we typically do. Now, when it's statewide, we have to sort of readjust our game plan, but think about how long it takes you to drive one lane entirely around 285.
I've done that before. Have you done it?
No. How long does it take?
It takes about 30 minutes. Now, that's going 55.
And probably good traffic.
Right, exactly, and good traffic. But that's just it. If you were going to go from Georgia 400, going clockwise around 285, down to the south side, and all the way back up, it took me almost an hour to do it.
Yeah.
And that's with a sunshiny day. That was the day that I did it. And I can only imagine for you guys with the brine trucks out there trying to do it.
So they have to go a slower speed. So they have to keep their speed down in order to get an ultimate saturation. So it comes out of the tank, it sort of sprays out in what looks like a PVC pipe with little holes in it to get that saturation on one lane.
And what is that speed that you guys go?
So our tankers have to go 40 miles per hour. If they are stuck in a traffic jam, they have the ability to turn off the spray so that they're not spraying in the same spot, wasting spray. So they have to think about a lot of things. Number one, optimal saturation on the lane that they're driving. So they're going 40 miles per hour, hoping that no one's cutting them off, hoping that no one's tailing them, hoping that there isn't a traffic jam in order to get through all the lanes before the storm gets here. So that's why when we tell people on a beautiful sunny day while we're brining, because we know the storm's coming, to stay off the roads, that's one of the reasons. They have to go slower. We don't want you to get stuck in that. Any fender bender in Atlanta, we know, completely shuts down an interstate. So then they're wasting materials, we're wasting time that we need to get the roads treated.
So we're looking at on the ground here, this is residue from the salt. and you want it to dry down. Is that correct?
Right, so that gives us that ultimate salinity, which is going to help us, help our crews during and after the storm to be able to clear, lower the temperature at which it binds. So this is what you'll see on the road. That's another reason that we really encourage people to stay off the roads while we've got our brine tankers going. You don't want this on your car. It is corrosive. It can eat your paint. And so we find post-storm we do get some complaints about people who've gone a little too close to the brine tanker. That's why we give them space, not only to be able to do their job, but you definitely don't want this on your car. We want all this on the road to be able to give us that pre-storm treatment, that step ahead of the storm. And then we like to get one layer down. We can get 2, 3. We can do more depending on what comes in. But we do have to monitor if it's coming in. Of course, always talking to you. If you tell us it's coming in as more rain, we have to sort of adjust. We'll try to get a layer down, but then we may drop more granular materials that hasn't been mixed into brine yet. So we'll just have dump trucks dumping salt because you've told us it's going to be rain. We know it's going to make its own brine. So we have to be very nimble based on what Mother Nature's bringing us. And as you know, and now we know, Mother Nature is fickle. She gives us a area of a plan, but we don't always know exactly what the game plan is.
The timeline's going to wiggle.
The timeline's going to wiggle. Precipitation can sometimes change. And so we have to just be very nimble with our plan. And that's something that we've really worked on in the past 10 years, to be able to make better decisions with how we use our materials, where we use our materials, to prevent things like snowmageddon.
There is a lot more to talk about with regards to this facility, a lot more to talk about how we prepare our roads ahead of a winter storm. But with that said, we've already talked up a storm already, but thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for being here. We love to talk brine.